For American homosexuals, this person, Scott Lively, is enemy number one.
Well, let me explain how this works. It's a 5-stage process of cultural conquest. 5 steps. It begins with a request for tolerance. Once the gays have achieved tolerance, and tolerance is just simply the right to be left alone, right? Then it's a demand for acceptance, and acceptance means an equal status. Then comes celebration, that everyone must accept homosexuality and promote it as a good, valuable thing. Then comes forced participation. Everyone must participate in gay culture. And then comes punishment of everyone who disagrees. Russia and the countries of the former Soviet Union are at the first stage, where there is a demand for tolerance. So most of the people in those countries, they don't think that there's a problem. But there is a problem, because it's just like a seed that gets planted in the ground. And the seed is the anti-discrimination policy. An anti-discrimination policy based on so-called sexual orientation.
The opposer of sodomites and pedophiles decided to show us the company which protects and promotes homosexual ideas in the whole world. Any criticism against the gay community in the United States is automatically considered a crime.
The average American is not in favor of homosexuality, but they're afraid of speaking out because the gays have so much power that they will cause harm to you. Here's our taxi driver.
You too? Mister.
Are you agree to that?
I agree with anything.
He knows. It's if you speak up, they will find a way to punish you. Most people are vulnerable to some kind of intimidation, especially anyone who's in any position of influence or in the media spotlight. If they dare to say something against homosexuality, they will be punished. So most people just keep their mouth shut, right? And they just go along with it.
And these people?
Yeah, this is our taxi driver. I don't know him, but I said that. Not his head, he knows. It's everybody at every level.
I'm not suggesting.
Are you afraid?
Yeah, I'm not
Human rights campaign is where we want to go. That's it? Yeah.
You want to go to down?
Thank you. I want to get over there. So we're here now in front of the headquarters of the Human Rights Campaign, one of the most aggressive homosexual advocacy organizations in the world. This is the Human Rights Campaign envisions an America where lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender people are ensured of their basic equal rights and to be open, honest, and safe at home, at work, and in the community. This is the LGBT. All over the world, there are serious breaches of human rights. People are being killed, they're being tortured. They're having to flee their homelands and cross borders, live in refugee camps. And this organization, instead of focusing on the true needs of people around the world, they're trying to declare that homosexuality is a human right. And they're devoting vast amounts of money to promote this agenda around the world instead of addressing genuine human rights.
right, so one piece that I haven't covered in all the videos I've done about these celebrity deaths, and I'm talking specifically here about Michael Jackson, Prince, now George Michael, and to some extent David Bowie. And you could also say this about Justin Bieber and a lot of these boy band type rock stars or pop stars. And really, you could say about this about all these glam rock stars with long hair and makeup, as well as bands like Twisted Sister that dressed like women. And that is that you had a whole generation. Now, this starts back really in the 70s and certainly in the 80s with Michael Jackson and Prince and then George Michael, and in the 90s, where they started to sexualize young women who were preteens and teens, 8th grade, 13, 14 years old, when they're coming into puberty. Their first male crush and the icon, the archetype that they were given as the ideal male was somebody that was very effeminate, had a high soprano type voice, and was often gay or bisexual. And so these women, when they thought about the ideal man, this is the first man that they had this crush on, they're just awakening to their sexual nature or whatever, this young age. This is the imprint, this is the impression of the kind of man that they wanted. And so as these girls grew up and they're in their teens and they're looking for boyfriends and these types of things, they are being sexualized to men who are very much like women. Now, of course, in 2015, when 2016, these years, these last couple of years, we see that this is not accidental with this gender fluid movement and sexual fluid movement being rolled out, where they're saying you're no longer a male or a female, you're whatever you feel like. One day you might be more masculine, one day you might be more feminine, but you're always in this fluid state of sexuality, both in terms of gender and in terms of your sexual orientation. And so you think about this. Now, most people are aware of this when girls enter into their high school years and boys start wanting to be, date them and these types of things. They are going to be influenced. The boys' behavior is going to be influenced, and they're going to be stylized by these women. These women, these young women in their high school years and college years, and certainly when they marry their husbands, women socialize their men. So you see all these young men acting and dressing like Justin Bieber because they know that young women are attracted to Justin Bieber. So they say, all right, I'm going to act like him. Or as they get older, the women actually dress their men and influence their men socially for that ideal man that they were given when they were 12, 13 years old. Because this is a very deep impression for all these young women. So you see these kids growing up now, the effects of it. Think about the millennials and this idea of metrosexuality, where these guys, they're metrosexual and they get their nails done and they do all these, they wear makeup, all this stuff. They've been completely effeminized. That guy who's the cover boy, who's the first cover girl, and all these types of things. So this is the influence that they had when they rolled out these iconic figures. They made these idols, these pop star idols that were effeminate men, again, with all these characteristics and high voices and all these types of things. And now they are killing them. They're wiping them off the board. It is like they are destroying the evidence. So this is very interesting as well. I think that you can see that there is some sort of an agenda here. I've covered this in lots of other videos, but now they're wiping out all these 80s and early 90s icons off the playing board, but they've replaced them with Caitlyn Jenner and this all-out movement to be gender fluid and to be sexual fluid. And so you have all these celebrities, all these young women, all these so-called cool people. They're all saying, hey, this is the way you're supposed to be. You don't identify with your gender anymore. Your sexual orientation is no longer, it's completely fluid. Nothing's black and white anymore. Everything that we've known as a human being is being redefined in 2015 and 2016. And you can see there was a plan because of these pop stars and these pop icons and these types of things. So it's all a part of an agenda and a scripted plan to move human beings in an unnatural direction where they're confused, where they can't have a stable relationship because their gender and orientation is in complete a fluid state, in a flux state. So this gets away from having any sort of monogamous relationship. And think about this even for people in a homosexual relationship, because they're supposed to be in fluid and in flux all the time. So the person says, I don't feel gay today. And so next thing you know, all of these relationships are up for grab. People are unstable. Their personalities are becoming more and more unstable. So you see all of this. This is an agenda. So you've got to think, well, these things obviously aren't a coincidence that they're wiping out these icons. All right, so these are just a few thoughts. Maybe I'll do some follow-up videos on this in the coming weeks. Everybody have a blessed day.